Hello everyone, I'm Helen from Susan's family. Today, I'm sharing a Ling lace cardigan with you. You can find this pattern on en.sussudiy.com. The cardigan consists of left and right front pieces, the back piece, the sleeves, the collar edge and the edging, the bottom edge, and the decorations. First, crochet the front and back pieces separately. After completing them, connect the corresponding areas. Next, crochet the sleeves and attach them. Then pick up stitches along the front bands to crochet the collar edge. And then pick up stitches along the hem to crochet the bottom edge. After that, crochet the edging around the collar and bottom edges. Finally, make and attach the decorations. The cardigan comes in two sizes, small and large. The crochet method is the same, but the number of stitches and rows differs slightly. I will demonstrate and explain using the small size as an example. For the large size, I will explain any differences separately. Let's start by working the back piece. It consists of motifs, the connecting fabric pieces, underarm pieces, and the neck and shoulder. The neck and shoulder is divided into two areas. First, crochet the corresponding number of motifs and connect them. After completing this, crochet area 1 of the neck and shoulder above the motifs. Next, pick up stitches along the side edges of the motifs. Crochet and join the connecting fabric pieces respectively. Then, pick up stitches along the other side of the motifs and crochet the underarm pieces. Finally, pick up stitches above area 1 of the neck and shoulder and the connecting fabric pieces. Crochet area 2 of the neck and shoulder. Let's start by working the motifs. First, crochet the corresponding number of motifs. Then, sew the motifs together. Here, each motif starts with a chain ring. Crochet outwards in rounds counterclockwise. Various stitches will be used, and they are clearly marked on the chart. I won't go through them all here. Please watch me demonstrate the specific crochet method. For ease of viewing, I will use cotton yarn for the demonstration here. The colors are random. For specific yarn, the color combinations and hook sizes, please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper pattern. First, start with a chain ring. Hold the yarn with your left hand. Make a knot first. Then chain 3. Next, pick up the upper loop of the first chain. Work 1 slip stitch to join. The joining slip stitch doesn't count as 1 stitch. Slightly tighten. Then begin to crochet round 1. Chain 1 to start. This is the beginning chain of single crochet. It doesn't count as 1 stitch. Then pick up in the center of the chain ring. Work 1 single crochet. Place the starting yarn tail over the hook. Weave it in as you crochet. Continue picking up the chain ring. Crochet 7 single crochets. Remember to weave in the yarn as you crochet. Check the stitch count when you're done. This round needs a total of 8 single crochets. Finally, join with a slip stitch in the first single crochet. The adjacent vertical small braid on the left is the beginning chain. Skip it. The horizontal braid next to it is the stitch of the first single crochet. Insert into the stitch. Work 1 slip stitch. The slip stitch doesn't count as a stitch. Gently tighten. Now, round 1 is complete. Trim the remaining yarn tail from the starting chain. Move on to round 2. First, make 2 beginning chains. Then pick up the same position, which is where you previously inserted for the slip stitch. Work 1 double crochet here. Follow with 2 chains as the interval. Then pick up the next stitch. Work a DC2 bobble. First, pick up the stitch and work an incomplete double crochet. Yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over and pull through. Then yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. This is an incomplete double crochet. In the same position, work another incomplete double crochet. Now, there are 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through in once. The DC2 bobble is complete. Follow with 2 chains as the interval. Continue picking up the next stitch. Work a DC2 bobble. Follow with 2 chains as the interval. Next, pick up each of the following stitches and work a DC2 bobble correspondingly, with 2 chains in between. Continue crocheting. After completing the last DC2 bobble, continue with 2 chains. Then, pick up the double crochet next to the beginning chain and work 1 slip stitch to join. Pull tight after completing. Now, round 2 is complete. Continue crocheting round 3. First, pick up the left chain space. Work 1 slip stitch to carry the yarn across. Here, the slip stitch to carry the yarn across does not need to be tightened. The pattern chart uses oval solid dots to indicate. Work a special TR3 bobble. First, make 3 beginning chains. Then pick up the chain space. Work an incomplete treble crochet. Yarn over twice. Insert the hook. Yarn over and pull through. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Repeat 2 times. 1, 2. This is an incomplete treble crochet. In the same position, work another incomplete treble crochet. After completing, there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through once. The special TR3 bobble is complete. Follow with 2 chains for an interval. In the same chain space, continue working a TR3 bobble. First, pick up the chain space and work 3 incomplete treble crochets. 1, 2, 3. Finally, yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. The TR3 bobble is complete. Continue with 2 chains for an interval. Next, pick up the following chain spaces and work 2 TR3 bobbles in each chain space. Separate each TR3 bobble with 2 chains. Continue crocheting. After completing the last 2 chains, join with a slip stitch in the first TR3 bobble. That is the horizontal braid next to the beginning chain. Pull tight after completing. Now round 3 is complete. Then work round 4. First, pick up the left chain space. Work 1 slip stitch to carry the yarn across. Then make 3 beginning chains. These 3 chains count as 1 double crochet. Work 4 more double crochets in the same chain space. Including the beginning chain, it's like having 5 double crochets in one chain space. Follow with 2 chains for an interval. Then pick up the next chain space and work 1 single crochet. Work 2 chains for an interval. Then pick up the next chain space and work 5 double crochets. Continue working the stitch pattern in the 2 chain spaces alternately. After completing the last 2 chains, in the 3rd chain of the beginning chain, pick up 2 strands of the chain. Work a slip stitch to join. Pull tight. Round 4 is complete. Next, work round 5. First, make 3 beginning chains. Work 1 double crochet in the same position, which is where you previously inserted for the slip stitch. Insert the hook and crochet. After completing, pick up the following stitches. Work 3 double crochets correspondingly. The stitch here is slightly deformed. Simply insert the hook into the 2 strands directly above. Work a DC2 in 1 in the next stitch, which means working 2 double crochets into the same stitch. 1, 2. The DC2 in 1 is complete. Continue with 2 chains for an interval. Then pick up the following double crochets. pick up the first stitch. Work a DC 2 in 1. Next, work 3 double crochets correspondingly. Work a DC 2 in 1 in the next stitch. After completing, work 2 chains for an interval. Continue working this group of stitches above the double crochets. Separate each group with 2 chains. You can also refer to the chart for specifics. Continue crocheting. After completing the last 2 chains, join with a slip stitch in the third stitch of the beginning chain. Here, when working a slip stitch, always pick up 2 strands from the top of the beginning chain and insert the hook. Tighten after completing. Now, round 5 is complete. Move on to round 6. The method is similar to the previous round, just the number of stitches is slightly different. Please refer to the chart and finish crocheting this round. After completing, crochet round 7. First, pick up the next 2 stitches on the left and separately work 1 slip stitch to carry the yarn across. After completing, make 3 beginning chains. Similarly, the beginning chain counts as 1 double crochet. In the same position, continue to crochet 6 double crochets. After completing, check the stitch count. Continue to the left. Skip 1 double crochet, then pick up the next stitch. Work 1 single crochet. Next, continue to skip 1 stitch, then pick up the next stitch and work 7 double crochets. Here I'll consider these 7 double crochets as 1 shell stitch. Continue skipping 2 stitches. When you reach the chain position, pick the chain space and crochet 1 single crochet. Continue skipping 2 stitches. Then pick up the next stitch and crochet 1 shell stitch. Then skip 1 stitch and crochet a single crochet. And skip another stitch. Crochet a shell stitch. While crocheting here, work 1 treble crochet. And connect with the previous shell stitch. First, pick up the corresponding stitch. Crochet 3 double crochets. Then pick up the right shell stitch. The third stitch from left to right. Crochet 1 treble crochet, yarn over twice. Turn the fabric. Find the corresponding stitch. When viewed from the wrong side, the stitch is in the top left. Then yarn over and pull through. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Repeat 3 times. 1, 2, 3. After completing, turn the fabric. Note that after turning, the tail is on the back. Then pick up the same position. Crochet 4 double crochets. Now, the shell stitch is complete. During the process, 1 treble crochet was crocheted for connection. Continue skipping 2 stitches. Pick up the chain position and crochet a single crochet. Then skip 2 stitches. Crochet a shell stitch. Skip 1 stitch and crochet a single crochet. Then skip another stitch and crochet a shell stitch. No connection is needed here. I'll consider these 2 shell stitches and the single crochet between them as one group. Then pick up the chain space and work a single crochet. Then, in the area of double crochets, continue to crochet another group. Here, while crocheting, you need to connect with a treble crochet. First, skip 2 stitches and crochet a shell stitch. Then skip 1 stitch and crochet a single crochet. Skip another stitch and crochet a shell stitch and a treble crochet to connect. First, crochet 3 double crochets. Then pick up the right shell stitch at the third to last double crochet position and crochet a treble crochet. Turn it over once done. Complete this shell stitch. Now, one group is complete. Then follow the method for these 2 groups. Continue crocheting. You can also refer to the chart for specifics. After completing the last group, pick up the chain space and crochet a single crochet. Then join with a slip stitch at the beginning chain position. Pull tight. Round 7 is now complete. Continue to crochet round 8. First, pick up stitches to the left. Crochet 2 slip stitches to carry the yarn across. Then chain 3. Next, locate the adjacent single crochet. Pick up the 2 strands behind it. Crochet a slip stitch without tightening. That is, work 1 slip stitch, and do not tighten it. Continue to make 3 chains. Then pick up the 3rd to last stitch of the shell stitch on the left. Pick up the top 1 or 2 strands on the wrong side. Crochet 1 slip stitch without tightening. Continue to make 5 chains for an interval. Then pick up the next group position. First, pick up the center stitch of the adjacent shell stitch. Crochet 1/2 double crochet. Insert into the stitch. Then pick up the chain space below the left treble crochet. Crochet 5 double crochets. Chain 2 between the double crochets. After completing, continue to pick up the center stitch of the left shell stitch. Pick up the stitch and crochet 1/2 double crochet. I'll consider these 2 half double crochets and the space between them as a corner. Continue working the side. First, crochet 5 chains for an interval. Then pick up the 3rd stitch of the next shell stitch. Pick up the top 2 strands on the wrong side. Crochet 1 slip stitch without tightening. Then chain 3 for an interval. Next, locate the single crochet below. Pick up the 2 strands behind it. Crochet a slip stitch without tightening. Chain 3 for an interval. Then pick up the top 2 strands of the 3rd to last stitch on the wrong side of the left shell stitch. Crochet a slip stitch without tightening. Then chain 5 for an interval. Now, one side is complete. Continue crocheting using the method for sides and corners. You can also refer to the chart for details. After crocheting the last corner, continue completing the starting side. First, chain 5. Then locate the 3rd stitch of the first shell stitch. Pick up the top 2 strands on the wrong side. Crochet a slip stitch without tightening. Now, the starting side is complete. Finally, pick up the adjacent chain space. Crochet a slip stitch to connect. Pull tight. Round 8 is now complete. Next, crochet round 9. First, make 3 beginning chains. These count as 1 double crochet, then chain 2 for an interval. In the adjacent chain space, crochet 1 double crochet. Chain 2 for an interval. In the next chain space, crochet 2 double crochets. Chain 2 as an interval between them. Continue to crochet 2 chains. Next, you reach the corner position. First, in the first 2 chain spaces, crochet double crochets. Chain 2 as an interval on both sides of the double crochet. After completing, locate the double crochet in the center of the corner. Pick up the stitch, crochet 1 treble crochet, 2 chains and 1 treble crochet. Only pick up the centered double crochet stitch at the corner for crocheting. For the rest, crochet into the chain spaces. Refer to the chart for the specific stitch pattern. Continue crocheting. After crocheting the double crochet in the last chain space, continue with 1 chain. Then pick up the 3rd chain of the beginning chain. Crochet 1 single crochet to connect the beginning and the end. Now, round 9 is complete. Next, crochet round 10. Chain 2 to start. Work 1 double crochet in the same position. Here, pick up the chain space below and crochet. Continue with 2 chains for the interval. Next, pick up the chain spaces separately and work a DC2 bobble. At the corner position, pick up the chain space and crochet 3 DC2 bobbles. There are 2 chains apart between all the DC2 bobbles here. You can also refer to the chart for specifics. Continue crocheting. After completing the last DC2 bobble, chain 1. Then pick up the double crochet stitch next to the beginning chain and crochet a single crochet to connect. Round 10 is now complete. For round 11, the method is the same as round 9. At the corner positions, insert into the center DC2 bobble stitch. For other positions, insert into the chain spaces. There are no new stitches or methods used. Refer to the chart to complete this round. Note that the ending is still connected with a single crochet. After completing, crochet round 12. First, make 3 beginning chains. Then, pick up the adjacent chain spaces. Work 3 double crochets in each chain space. Follow this method. Continue crocheting until you reach the chain space at the corner. When you get to the corresponding position, pick up the chain space and work 2 double crochets. Chain 3. Then work 2 more double crochets in the same chain space. Continue crocheting according to the chart. Finally, at the starting chain space, work 2 double crochets. Then slip stitch into the beginning chain. Pull tight. Fasten off the yarn. Now, round 12 is complete. Weave in the yarn tail on the wrong side of the fabric. You can weave in a few more stitches. Now, one motif is complete. Follow the same method and crochet the corresponding number of motifs. Then set them aside for later use. After finishing all the needed motifs, proceed with sewing. Here, I'm demonstrating with a swatch. Pick up 2 motifs first. Place them vertically. Then take 3 to 4 times the length of yarn needed for the connection. For ease of watching, I'll demonstrate with another color. Thread the yarn into the sewing needle. Here we'll use the whip stitch method for sewing. Place the wrong sides of the motifs together, with the right sides facing outward. Then, on the right side of the side that needs to be sewn, start from the center stitch of the 3 chains at the corner. Locate the center chain of the front motif here. Insert the needle into the loop closer to you. Then locate the corresponding chain of the back motif. Insert the needle into the loop farther from you. Sew once. Leave a little yarn tail. To secure it firmly, sew it once more in the same position. Continue sewing. Pick up the loop closer to you. And pick up the loop farther from you on another motif. Place the previously reserved yarn above. Sew and weave it in as you go. When you encounter the stitch position later, here the stitch shows 2 loops. The loop closer to you is the front loop, while the other is the back loop. Start sewing from the front loop of the adjacent stitch. For the motif behind, pick up the back loop. This is the loop farther from you at this point. Insert and sew once. Continue picking up the front loop in front. Then pick up the back loop in the back. Align and sew them together one by one. When you encounter the beginning chain of double crochet, pick up the hole above it. Sew by inserting where the slip stitch was made earlier. Continue sewing. When you reach another corner, pick up the front and back strands separately and sew them once each. At the center chain position, sew it once more for more security. Leave the rest unsewn, then weave in the yarn to the wrong side. You can weave in a few more stitches. Trim any remaining tails. Now the two motifs are sewn together. Here, the back piece has 4 motifs. You just need to sew 2 motifs together. And only sew one side. Please complete them by yourself. Now, that concludes the tutorial on the motif section. Next, on one side above the sewn motifs, crochet area 1 of the neck and shoulder. Place the sewn motifs vertically. Then join the yarn at the chain space in the top right corner. Insert the hook. Pick up the yarn, make a loose knot. Draw the loop through. Adjust slightly. Make sure the knot and yarn tail don't show on the right side. Then make 3 beginning chains. Work 1 double crochet in the same chain space. Remember to weave in the yarn tail as you go. Continue picking up stitches. Work a double crochet in each corresponding stitch. If you encounter a beginning chain, insert the hook into the hole where the slip stitch was made earlier. Continue working. When you reach the chain space at the corner of the other end, work 2 double crochets. Don't work the following stitches. Now, row 1 is complete. Move on to row 2. Chain 1 to start. Then turn the fabric. Insert the hook into the double crochet at the edge. Work 1 single crochet. Then chain 5 for an interval. Skip 3 stitches to the left. Pick up the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. Chain 5. Continue skipping 3 stitches and work a single crochet. Chain 5. Continue crocheting in this way. The final single crochet should be worked into the beginning chain. Here, locate the 3rd chain of the beginning chain. Pick up its 2 strands and crochet. Now, row 2 is complete. Next, work row 3. Make 3 turning chains first. Turn over. Then chain 2. Work 1 single crochet into the adjacent chain space. Then chain 3. Next, pick up the next chain space. Work a DC3 bobble. First, work 3 incomplete double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Finally, yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. The DC3 bobble is complete. Next, chain 3. In the same chain space, continue working a DC3 bobble. After completing, chain 3. Consider the single crochet up to here as one group. Continue crocheting using the same method as this group. You can also refer to the chart for specifics. After completing the last group, there is still one chain space left. Pick up the chain space and work 1 single crochet, then chain 2. Finally, pick up the stitch at the edge. Work 1 double crochet. Now, row 3 is complete. Move on to row 4. Chain 2 to start. Turn over. Then chain 1. Next, pick up the next 2 chain spaces below. Here are the chain spaces on both sides of the single crochet. Work a DC2 tog. First, pick up the adjacent chain space and work an incomplete double crochet. Then, pick up the next chain space. Work 1 incomplete double crochet. Finally, yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. The DC2 tog is complete. Then chain 3. Next, pick up the adjacent chain space. Work 1 single crochet. Chain 3. Then pick up the next 2 chain spaces and work a DC2 tog. Chain 3 as an interval. Next, work single crochets in the chain spaces between the DC3 bobbles. Work DC2 togs in the chain spaces on both sides of the single crochets. There are always 3 chains between each DC2 tog and single crochet here. Continue crocheting in this way. After finishing the last DC2 tog, continue to make 1 chain. Then locate the turning chain of the previous row. That is, the 3rd chain. Pick up 2 strands and crochet 1/2 double crochet. Now, row 4 is complete. Here, the row counts for different sizes vary slightly. The small size is completed now. For the larger size, continue to refer to the previous demonstration and follow the chart to crochet. After completing, cut the yarn and weave in the ends. Follow the same method to crochet area 1 of the neck and shoulder on the other side. Crochet above the vertical motif. Please complete it by yourself. Now, that concludes the tutorial for area 1 of the neck and shoulder. Continue crocheting the connecting fabric pieces. Place the motifs horizontally. Then pick up the side of area 1 and the side of the motif. Crochet in rows. First, locate the edge of area 1. Pick up the chain space on the edge of the last row. Insert the hook and attach the yarn. Then make 3 beginning chains. Work 1 double crochet in the same chain space. Then pick up the side edge of the next row. The edge here is a double crochet. Pick it up the entirely. Work 2 double crochets. The edge of the next row is a single crochet. Pick up the gap along the edge here. Work 1 double crochet. Next, when you encounter a double crochet on the edge, pick it up entirely, and work 2 double crochets. For the larger size, continue following the stitch pattern, or refer to the chart to work corresponding double crochets. When you reach the position of the motif, first, pick up the chain space at the corner, work 2 double crochets. Then pick up the stitches separately, and work a double crochet into each one. When you reach the chain space at the corner of the motif, work 2 double crochets into it. For the larger size, pick up the connection point. Locate an approximate position roughly along the edge. Insert the hook and work 1 double crochet. For the small size, there's no need to pick up the connection point. Then, for both sizes, pick up the chain space at the corner of the motif and work 2 double crochets. Work a double crochet into each stitch. Continue crocheting until you reach the corner of the edge. After completing the 2 double crochets at the corner of the edge, now, row 1 is done. The remaining rows are crocheted in the same way as area 1 of the neck and shoulder. The only difference is the row count. You can refer to the chart to complete the remaining rows. After completing, cut the yarn and weave in the ends. After finishing the connecting fabric piece on one side, for the other side, use the same method. Place the motif horizontally. Row 1 is worked from right to left. Then continue working back and forth for the remaining rows. The method is the same as the previous connecting fabric piece. Here, you don't need to cut the yarn when you finish. Leave a corresponding length of yarn for later sewing. Here, I will demonstrate the method of leaving a yarn tail with the swatch. First, chain 1 to secure. Then leave 3 to 4 times the length of yarn needed for the connection area. Cut the yarn. Draw out the yarn tail. Pull tight. Now the sewing yarn is properly left for later use. Next, place the wrong sides of the fabric pieces together. The right sides of the motifs should face outward. Then use the method of sewing the motifs. Pick up the last row of stitches in the connecting fabric pieces. For the front fabric piece, pick up the front loop. For the back fabric piece, pick up the back loop. Sew them together correspondingly. At the beginning chain position, insert the hook into the top 1 or 2 strands of the chain. Please complete this by yourself. Now, the explanation for the connecting fabric pieces is complete. Continue crocheting the underarm piece. The method is similar to area 1 of the neck and shoulder. Here, at the first motif of the 2 columns of motifs. On the side of the underarm. Which is the symmetrical side of the connecting fabric piece? Crochet separately. Here attach the yarn in the chain space at the edge on the right side. Then crochet in rows. Attach the yarn in the top chain space on the left side. Then crochet in rows. No new stitches or methods will be used. You can refer to the chart to complete it. Now, the explanation for the underarm piece is complete. Continue crocheting area 2 of the neck and shoulder, above the area 1 of the neck and shoulder. Pick up stitches from area 1, and the connecting fabric piece area to crochet. Here, you need to crochet separately on the left and right sides. Attach the yarn to the first stitch, at the edge on the right side. Then crochet in rows from right to left. On the left side, insert the hook at the corresponding position of the inner row. And attach the yarn, then crochet in rows. A new stitch will be used. That is DC3 tog. I'll demonstrate the new stitch separately. You can learn it first. Then refer to the chart to crochet. Please watch the demonstration. The DC3 tog. Yarn over. Insert into the left stitch. Yarn over again, pull the yarn through. Then yarn over. Pull through the first 2 loops. This is an incomplete double crochet. Proceed with the second one. Yarn over. Insert into the adjacent stitch. Yarn over again, pull the yarn through. Then yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. This is the second incomplete double crochet. Continue with the third one. There are 4 loops on the hook now. Yarn over. Pull through all 4 loops on the hook. A DC3 tog is complete. This is the method for DC3 tog. Now the explanation for area 2 of the neck and shoulder is complete. And that concludes the tutorial on the entire back piece. Next, I'll explain the left and right front pieces. The left and right here are determined by the actual wearing position. The method for both front pieces is the same. Each front piece is divided into motifs. The neck and shoulder, and the underarm piece. The method for the motifs is identical to the back piece. After crocheting 2 motifs, sew one side together. Then place the motifs vertically. Crochet the neck and shoulder at the top. The method for the neck and shoulder here is the same as area 1 of the back piece. The only difference is the row count. After completing, cut the yarn. Next, pick up the side edges of the lower motif, and crochet the underarm piece. No new stitches or methods will be used. You can refer to the chart to complete it. Now the explanation for crocheting the front piece is complete. Next, proceed to sew the front and back pieces together. Here, sew the neck and shoulder and underarm pieces of the 2 pieces together. Use the whip stitch method for sewing. The method is similar to sewing the motifs together. A slight difference lies only in the entry position. Take the neck and shoulder area as an example. When sewing, place the wrong sides of the 2 fabric pieces together. the sides of the underarm pieces also correspond. Then pick up the back loop of the stitch on the front fabric piece and the front loop of the stitch on the back fabric piece. That is, the strand where the two stitches meet. Sew them together correspondingly. You don't need to insert into the front loop of the front fabric piece and the back loop of the back fabric piece. The final appearance is as shown. When encountering a beginning chain, simply insert into the top two strands. The underarm piece is sewn and connected using the same method. Please complete this by yourself. Now the explanation for the sewing of the front and back pieces is complete. Next, let's make the sleeves. Start by crocheting. After completing, connect the corresponding areas. Finally, attach them to the armholes of the front and back pieces. Each sleeve is divided into two main areas, the sleeve body and the sleeve edge. First, make a foundation chain, and working upwards to crochet the sleeve body. Then, pick up the other side of the foundation chain, and work downwards to crochet the sleeve edge. First, crochet the sleeve body. It is divided into the even section and the decreasing section. Crochet the two sections in order from bottom to top. Begin with the even section. A new stitch will be used, that is double treble crochet. Please watch my demonstration. Start with a foundation chain. Hold the yarn with your left hand. Then chain the corresponding number of stitches. You can refer to the chart for specifics. The stitch count of my swatch is random. After completing, crochet row 1. First, make one beginning chain. Then, pick up the second stitch from right to left. Note that the loop on the hook is not included. Pick up the top strand of the corresponding chain. Crochet a slip stitch without tightening. Then chain 4. Next, locate the first chain of these 4 chains. Pick up its 2 strands. Work a DC2 bobble. I'll consider these 4 chains and this DC2 bobble as one bobble stitch. Continue working one bobble stitch. First, chain 4. Then pick up the first of these 4 chains. Work a DC2 bobble. Here, all chains are picked up with 2 strands. Another bobble stitch is complete. Next, skip 5 chains. Pick up 1 or 2 strands of the 6th chain. Crochet a slip stitch without tightening. I'll consider these 2 bobble stitches and the untightened slip stitch as group 1. Continue working group 1. First, work 2 bobble stitches. 1, 2. Then skip 5 chains. Work a slip stitch without tightening. Another group 1 is complete. Then follow this method, and continue working on the remaining patterns of group 1. The last untightened slip stitch is precisely worked in the chain at the edge. Now, row 1 is complete. Continue with row 2, chain 6 to start. Then turn the fabric. Work 1 bobble stitch. Then pick up the bobble stitch at the edge below. That is the insertion point for the bobble stitch. Insert and work 1 slip stitch without tightening. Then continue with group 1. Work 2 bobble stitches first. Then locate the second bobble stitch on the left. Pick up its insertion point. Work 1 slip stitch without tightening. Now, group 1 is complete. Continue to crochet group 1 correspondingly. Here, all the untightened slip stitches for group 1 are worked in the insertion point of the second bobble stitch on the left below. You can also refer to the chart for specifics. Continue crocheting. After finishing the last group 1, continue with 1 bobble stitch. Next, locate the starting position of the untightened slip stitch from the previous row at the edge. Pick up the chain formed by the slip stitch. Work a double treble crochet. Yarn over 3 times. Insert into the corresponding position. Yarn over and pull through. Now, there are 5 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Repeat this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. The double treble crochet is complete. Make sure the height of the stitch is about the same as the adjacent stitches. Now, row 2 is complete. Next, work on row 3. First, turn the fabric. Then, pick up the stitch of the double treble crochet. Work 1 slip stitch without tightening. Continue with group 1. Work 2 bobble stitches first. Then, locate the second bobble stitch on the left side and pick up its insertion point. Work 1 slip stitch without tightening. Group 1 is complete. Continue crocheting group 1 in the same way until you finish this row. Finally, work the untightened slip stitch into the insertion point of the bobble stitch at the edge. Do not crochet in the beginning chain position here. Row 3 is now complete. Move on to row 2. The method is identical to row 2. Chain 6 to start. Turn over. Then, correspondingly work 1 bobble stitch. Next, at the insertion point of the bobble stitch below, work a slip stitch without tightening. Then crochet the corresponding group 1. After completing the last bobble stitch, pick up the position of the untightened slip stitch from the previous row at the edge. If it's difficult to pick up the braid, you can also insert into the stitch of the double treble crochet. Crochet 1 double treble crochet. After completing, row 4 is done. For the remaining rows, continue with the method used in rows 3 and 4, working group 1 back and forth. Please complete this by yourself. The tutorial for the even section is now finished. After finishing the even section, continue to crochet the decreasing section. We'll use a new method, carrying the yarn across. Here I'll demonstrate the method with this swatch. First, turn over the fabric. Then, pick up the edge stitch, and crochet an untightened slip stitch. Next, make 5 chains as a transition. Then, locate the second bobble stitch on the left side, pick up its insertion point, and work a slip stitch without tightening. Continue with 5 chains as a transition. At the position of the second bobble stitch on the left side, crochet a slip stitch without tightening. For the small size, start with group 1. For the larger size, continue with transition chains and untightened slip stitches. Then crochet group 1. You can refer to the chart for specifics. Note, leave some space at the end without crocheting any patterns. I'll start crocheting group 1 using my swatch. Continue crocheting. After completing the corresponding number of group 1, then continue with 5 chains as a transition. Pick up the second bobble stitch on the left side, and crochet an untightened slip stitch. Then make another 5 chains as a transition. Pick up the last bobble stitch, and crochet an untightened slip stitch. After completing, fasten off the yarn. Row 1 is now complete. Move on to row 2. Attach the yarn and continue crocheting. First, turn over the fabric, then pick up the yarn. Insert the hook into the insertion point of the bobble. On the edge of the bobble stitch, join the yarn. Then crochet group 1. After completing the last group 1, leave the remaining stitches unworked. Row 2 is now complete. Continue crocheting row 3. First, carry the yarn across. First, pull up the loop on the hook. Then pass the yarn ball, or the fabric through the loop. Slightly tighten the yarn. Then turn over the fabric. Pick up the insertion point of the bobble on the edge of the bobble stitch. Insert the hook. Yarn over and pull through. Don't make the yarn too tight or too loose here, and keep it level with the fabric. Then start crocheting group 1. After completing the last group 1, leave the rest unworked. Row 3 is now finished. Continue crocheting row 4. Start by carrying the yarn across. Then turn over. At the insertion point of the bobble on the edge of the bobble stitch, draw the yarn through. Adjust slightly. the yarn has been carried across. Then crochet group 1 correspondingly. Continue crocheting the next few rows using the same method as the first 2 rows. Start each row by carrying the yarn across. For the last row of the small size, crochet transition chains and untighten slip stitches. The method is the same as the beginning and end of row 1. For the larger size, crochet group 1 normally in the last row. After completing everything, fasten off and weave in the ends. Now, the explanation for the decreasing section is complete. And that concludes the tutorial on the sleeve body part. Next, crochet the sleeve edge. Here you need to crochet in rounds, and pick up the other side of the foundation chain. Here I will continue using the swatch to demonstrate. Place the side with the foundation chain facing up. Here, position the first row of the sleeve body, with the wrong side facing you, which means the starting yarn tail is currently on the left side. Then pick up the large chain space on the right edge, and join the yarn. Then make 3 beginning chains. Work 1 double crochet in the same chain space. Then pick up the next chain space to the left, and work 1 double crochet. Chain 2. Work 1 double crochet in the same position. Then work 2 double crochets in the adjacent chain space. In the next chain space, work 1 double crochet, 2 chains and 1 double crochet. Then continue crocheting by repeating the pattern through these 2 chain spaces. After crocheting through the last chain space, fold the fabric in half. Then join with a slip stitch in the third chain of the beginning chain. Pull tight. Now, round 1 is complete. Proceed with round 2. Pick up the adjacent stitch to the left, and crochet 2 slip stitches to carry the yarn across. Then pick up the chain space, and crochet a slip stitch to carry the yarn across. Next, make 3 beginning chains. In the same position, work 1 double crochet, 2 chains and 2 double crochets. I'll consider these stitches in the chain space as a lace pattern. Due to the beginning chain, the crochet technique here is special. Then chain 5 for a transition. Next, pick up the chain space on the left. Work 1 double crochet, 2 chains, and 1 double crochet. After completing, chain 5 for a transition. Then pick up the next chain space, and crochet a lace pattern. That means working 2 double crochets. Two chains and 2 double crochets. Next, continue picking up the chain spaces, and repeat the stitch pattern in these 2 chain spaces to crochet. Continue crocheting. After finishing the last 5 chains, join with a slip stitch in the beginning chain. Pull tight. Now, round 2 is complete. Move on to round 3. First, pick up a stitch and a chain space to the left, and work 2 slip stitches to carry the yarn across. After that, crochet the special lace pattern. Then chain 4. Next, pick up the chain space between the double crochets on the left, and crochet 6 double crochets. After that, chain 4. Then locate the position of the lace pattern on the left. Pick up its chain space, and crochet a lace pattern. Next, above the existing lace pattern, work the corresponding lace pattern. In the chain space between 2 double crochets, work 6 double crochets. Leave 4 chains on both sides of the 6 stitches. Continue crocheting by repeating the stitch pattern in these 2 chain spaces. After finishing the last 4 chains, at the beginning chain position, join with a slip stitch. Round 3 is complete. Continue to crochet round 4. First, work 2 slip stitches to the left to carry the yarn across. Then crochet the special lace pattern. After that, chain 1. Next, pick up the stitches from the 6 double crochets, and crochet by alternating 1 double crochet with 1 chain. After working above the 6th double crochet, continue with 1 chain. Next, above the existing lace pattern, work the corresponding lace pattern. In the positions of the 6 double crochets, follow the method here to crochet. Continue crocheting. Finally, join with a slip stitch in the beginning chain. Round 4 is complete. Next, crochet round 5. First, work 2 slip stitches to the left to carry the yarn across. Then work the special lace pattern. After that, pick up the chain spaces between the double crochets. First, pick up the first chain space, and work 1 single crochet. Then chain 2. Continue to work 2 double crochets in the same chain space. Then follow the stitch pattern of this chain space to finish crocheting all the chain spaces between the double crochets. After completing, pick up the adjacent chain space and work 1 single crochet. Next, above the existing lace pattern, work the corresponding lace pattern. In the double crochet positions, follow the method here to crochet. You can also refer to the chart for specifics. After finishing the last single crochet, join with a slip stitch in the beginning chain. Round 5 is complete. From here on, the rest is to repeat the pattern from rounds 2 to 5. In some rounds, as the number of stitches increases, the corresponding patterns will also increase. In round 6, when you reach the position to pick up the pattern below, simply insert the hook into the corresponding chain space of the pattern. Afterwards, when picking up this pattern, always insert the hook into the corresponding chain space of the pattern. Always work the lace pattern directly onto the precious lace pattern. You can refer to the chart too. To finish crocheting the remaining rounds, after completing, cut the yarn and weave in the ends. Now, the explanation for the sleeve edge is finished. Next, let's proceed with the connection and assembly of the sleeve. First, connect the beginning and end of the even section of the sleeve body. Here we'll use the method of crocheting single crochets and chains to connect. Align the beginning and end of each row with the wrong side facing out. Then, pick up the large chain spaces on the edge and crochet single crochets with corresponding chains in between. Connect from the one side of the foundation chain down to the end of the even section. Then connect the decreasing section to the armhole positions of the front and back pieces. Align the final connection point of the even section with the connection point of the underarm piece. Then align the center of the decreasing section of the sleeve body with the connection point of the neck and shoulder. Then find a few points on both sides and use the thread or stitch markers to secure them. For easy connection, when connecting the decreasing section here, just choose an approximate position on the edge to insert the hook. When connecting the front and back pieces, simply select an approximate stitch or chain space to insert the hook. There are no specific requirements for the entry position, as long as the fabric lays flat and looks neat after connecting. Now I will demonstrate the method of attaching. Note that the connections here are made on the wrong side of the fabric. First, turn the wrong side of the fabric outward. Then, at the foundation chain, pick up the 2 strands from the chains on the edge. And join the yarn. Chain 1 to start. And correspondingly work 1 single crochet. Then chain 2. Next, pick up the adjacent chain space on the edge. Insert your hook and work a single crochet. Chain 2. In the same chain space, continue with 1 single crochet. Chain 2. Then pick up the next chain space and work a single crochet. 2 chains. Then work 1 single crochet. Chain 2. Next, pick up chain spaces and work single crochets followed by 2 chains. The number of stitches can be adjusted as needed. You can work 2 single crochets or 3 single crochets in 1 chain space. Always make 2 chains as a transition between single crochets, as long as the fabric looks neat and flat when you finish crocheting. Finally, work 1 single crochet at the edge. So the connection of the even section is now complete. For the decreasing section, follow the previous placement. Correspondingly work single crochets and 2 chains to connect. Please complete it by yourself. After finishing, you can work 1 slip stitch on the single crochet along the edge of the underarm to secure. Then fasten off and weave in the ends. Now, the connection and assembly of the sleeve are complete. Up to this point, that concludes the tutorial on the sleeve section. Move on to crochet the collar edge. Work back and forth along the 2 front pieces and the neckline of the back piece. Start by attaching the yarn at the corner of the right front piece. Then pick up the corresponding edge of the front piece area and crochet single crochets. When you encounter stitches, pick up the stitches. When you encounter chain spaces or gaps at the edge, insert the hook into the spaces or gaps. At the connection position, pick up roughly 2 strands to insert the hook. Here, work 1 single crochet at each connection point. For the sides of each subsequent row, pick up in the chain spaces or gaps along the edges. For the left front piece, follow the same method to crochet. Continue working until you reach the corner of the bottom motif. After that, work back and forth in the area of the first row. The pattern here is similar to the neck and shoulder. No new stitches or techniques will be used. Simply refer to the chart to complete it. Now, the explanation for the collar edge is complete. Move on to crochet the bottom edge, along the edge of the hem. Crochet in rows. Start by attaching the yarn at the edge of the left front piece's collar. Then, pick up stitches or chain spaces along the edge. Insert the hook and work single crochets. Continue crocheting until you reach the edge of the right front piece's collar. Afterwards, work in rows with the corresponding pattern. No new stitches or techniques are used here. You can refer to the chart to crochet. The explanation for the bottom edge is now complete. Next, crochet the edging. Start from the left side of the bottom edge. Pick up stitches in the gaps and chain spaces of the bottom edge and work single crochets. Follow the pattern of crocheting 3 single crochets into 1 chain space and 2 single crochets into the next gap until you've completed the bottom edge area. Then, pick up stitches along the collar edge and work single crochets evenly. Continue crocheting until you reach the collar edge area on this side. Work single crochets following the same pattern. After finishing, Check that the fabric is flat. If it's not flat, adjust the number of stitches as needed. Next, crochet a row of single crochets along the first row area. After finishing, fasten off and weave in the ends. Make sure to complete this part. Now, the edging section is complete. Finally, make and attach the decorations. First, sew on the buttons on the front band. Place them at the edge of the first motif on the left front piece. Evenly attach 3 buttons. There are no specific requirements for the sewing method. Just make sure they are securely attached. Please complete this part by yourself. The gaps in the pattern on the right front piece will be the buttonholes. After completing, crochet the straps and attach them to the sleeve edges and bottom edges. The straps here are crocheted using the Romanian cord. After finishing, sew on purl buttons at both ends. Here, you can leave a longer yarn tail before starting to crochet. After crocheting the corresponding length, leave another longer yarn tail at the end. Then use the yarn tails reserved at the beginning and end to sew on the purl buttons. Next, I'll provide a crochet method for the Romanian cord. For your reference, you can learn the method first. Please watch the demonstration. Here's the demonstration of the Romanian cord crochet method. Start with a foundation chain. Chain 2. Then insert the hook into the upper loop of the first chain. Yarn over. Pull the yarn through. Yarn over again. Pull the yarn through the 2 loops. Keep the hook still. Turn the fabric piece below clockwise. Then, pick up these 2 strands with the hook. Yarn over. Pull through. Yarn over again. Pull through the loops on the hook. Continue turning the fabric piece clockwise. Pick up these 2 strands with the hook. Yarn over. Work a single crochet. Continue turning the fabric piece clockwise. Pick up these 2 strands and work a single crochet. Repeat this method for the rest. Turn the fabric piece clockwise. Then pick up the 2 vertical strands at the left top and work a single crochet. Continue crocheting until you reach the desired length. Chain 1 to secure. Leave the yarn tail and cut the yarn. If you need to sew, leave a long yarn tail. This is how to crochet the Romanian cord. Now, the crocheting of the strap is complete. Next, sew on purl buttons at both ends. There are no specific requirements for the sewing method. Just make sure it's secure. Please complete this part, and then, attach them. Here, attach it in the large hole of the second round at the sleeve edge. Insert the strap into such a large hole. First, place the front piece of the fabric facing up. Then turn the sleeves wrong side out. Start inserting the strap from the centered position on the wrong side. Just insert it into a relatively centered hole. Come out through the adjacent hole. Continue inserting the strap through the large holes. Then adjust the length of the strap at both ends. And make sure the strap is flat. Stretch it according to your preference when wearing. Then tie a bow. So the strap on the sleeve edge is now attached. The strap on the bottom edge is attached on the second round. At such small holes. Start inserting it into the first hole from the edge. Then continue inserting the strap by skipping 4 holes each time, until you reach the ending position on the other side. If the holes here are not enough according to the pattern, you can distribute them evenly. And finally come out through one of the inner holes near the edge. Then adjust the strap. When wearing, tie it into a bow according to your preference. You can complete this part on your own. Now that concludes the tutorial on the decorations. Up to this point, the entire process of making the garment has been covered. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website. Susan's Family, supporting your handwork, enjoying the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.